Yes. This is point of sociological survey conducted in several years. The research project was carried out in the different climatic and landscape zones, Saskatchewan, Tiksi, Yakutsk, Ust-Maya, Alban in Nerungri. The data of this research is based on 3 different methods. Questionnaire research of more than 1,000 city and village dwellers, focus group research with local people, and face-to-face in-depth interviews which all residents, hunters, fishers, farmers, and reindeer breeders. In the first method, questionnaires were given to surveyed people by researchers. The respondents filled in the questionnaires themselves. The second was used to collect qualitative information using group interview and discussion with specially selected survey participants. The third method was mainly used for people who have experience of observing nature changes. Some climatologists believe that global changes in nature are greater in the northern regions of the planet. What environmental changes are observed in Yakutia? After considering the result of questionnaire survey, the respondents' answers were grouped according to the period when they were mentioned. First group of answers, 60 and more percent, 60% and more from the total amount of respondents. This group includes answers such as people often get sick with such infectious disease, air temperature change abruptly, people often get sick with oncologic disease, winter roads are opened later, people often get sick with allergic disease, and winters get warmer. Second group of answers from 40 to 59% of respondents answers the number of wild animals decreases, there are more floods, the seasonal changes are late, wind power and direction changes. Third group of answers from 20 to 39 of mentions. Summer gets rainy, summer gets colder, new bird species arrive, much snow in the winter, forests and fields watering due to permafrost thawing, found new insect species, animals, migration period changes. Qualitative methods were also used in this research. They are face-to-face in-depth interviews and focus groups. Respondents noted some changes in nature that can be seen in daily life. First of all, the citizens of Yakutia noticed climate change. Very interesting information was given by people living in the Saskatchewan village of the Anabaski region. Respondent number 1, 65 years old, say, in winter it gets much warmer. If it used to be cold for a month or more, now the cold lasts only for a few days. In general, the weather became unstable and unpredictable. There are abrupt changes in temperature. Respondent number 5, female, 27 years old. She said that last year in November, temperature was minus 40 degrees of Celsius, but the next day there was a drastic warming, almost to plus degrees. I wanted to cook stroganoff, raw frozen fish. Brought a fish into the house and it was melted. The tail was hanging. Respondent number 2, male, 50 years old. He said, the weather has changed. There have been no strong wind in winter over the past 15, 20 years. In the past, there was a period of strong winter, blizzard, and storms, when a person was literally knocked out of feet. But now it has changed. Respondent number 3, female, 72 years old. She told that in the summer it gets warmer, even hotter. Especially last year we had the heat. Now do we feel? How do we feel? Early in the summer you can swim only 3 days, and then not always. But now summer swimming season can last up to 10, 12 days. I've been watching from a window in the summer how young people organize a beach swimming, sunbathing, and were drinking a beer in the river. Maybe it's fashion. The respondent number 8, male, 57 years old, said that I noticed the rain had changed. Previously, there was a small rain with the mist and it lasted for a long time. Recently, thunderstorms occur often. In our area on the shores of the Arctic Ocean, it is particularly unprecedented phenomenon. Rain is intermittent but very strong, almost like a tropical downpour. For several years, the citizens of Yakutia have noticed change in flora and fauna, which is reasonably connected with global warming. Respondent noticed that the tundra was overgrown with bushes and strawberry is gradually moving to the north towards the Arctic Ocean. Crows appeared in a large number. Some of them even spent winter in the tundra. There are a lot of hares now. There were very few of them before. Then perhaps migration of animals occurred. Now the tundra is full of hares. Even gluttons came to the tundra. One could not see them before. Respondent also noticed that in the village outskirts, hare run even near my house. Every morning I see fresh tracks. There are a lot of Arctic foxes, but it is due to the fact that the price of this fur has increased and people stop hunting. Arctic foxes sometimes come into the village, but those who are sick with rabies and it's dangerous. This get worse with ulcers and sores, and as well as parasites. Water quality has deteriorated. It were the diamond miners who poured out poisoned water into the river. I can see flies that sting. Our local flies are not stingy. Respondent number 4 said that there are a lot of berries and that is good. We can gather a lot of cloudberries. Now it grows well. Also, the gather red bilberries. It did not grow color till first snow before, but now we gather blankets of colored bilberries. Research participants also noted changes in the period of season incoming. Respondent number 1 said that the winter is late. What is why? Winter roads are opened late. Spring comes early, but it lasts very long. The interval between winter and summer has short before, but now snow has melted and then summer comes in just 2 weeks. Now spring lasts for a long time and summer does not come at all. I also noticed that ice drift was changed. In the past, ice was the first to crack and then the ice drift began. But now the water comes over the ice and ice drift occur only after that. During the interview, residents of Arctic region noted changes in the duration of light and dark time of a day. In particular, they observed the actual disappearance of the polar night. If the polar night was very dark before and lasted for a long time, now the Arctic Circle residents note that the polar night is light and short. Some respondents expressed that opinion that it happened due to the displacement of Earth's axis. Some informants said that the arrangement of stars in the sky has changed. The constellation Ursa Minor and Ursa Major has changed its location on the night sky. Great the spread of the Siberian silkworm. This type of insects first appeared in the early 2000s. Silkworm destroys the forest by eating the needles of trees. Under under that forest, permafrost melt and water is flooding occur. Permafrost degradation leads to deformation and the destruction of buildings. It is noteworthy that destruction of the landscape is more likely to occur in abandoned estates where no one lives. Local residents are trying to protect permafrost with layers of cow dung. Cow dung is a good heat insulator and protect permafrost effectively. In order to identify and estimate the attitude of the people living in Yakutia to environmental changes, we asked the following question. What effect will the global warming have in your life and traditional husbandry? More than half of the respondents believe that global warming will adversely affect the quality of life as well as agriculture, which is the main job of local residents. They are sure that global warming will, first of all, lead the permafrost thawing, it will increase the Arctic Ocean level that will cause floods in the local people land. And secondly, permafrost thawing will lead to swamping and watering of meadows and pastures. And thirdly, research considers that warm winters and hot summers have caused infections, disease spreading among people and animals. Research participants had their own observation of global warming effects. Respondent number 9, male, 60 years old, said, further climate warming may lead to fatal effects for inhabitants of the North in the future. Thawing of the Arctic ice will cause an accident in which the Anabaski region will sink. The respondent number 12, male, 52 years old, said, permafrost thawing effects can already be seen now. There was a lake near the Anabar River, but because of underground ice thawing, it had completely flown into the river. I can't believe such a large lake, but there is no lake now. Next respondent noticed, I often travel to the Arctic Ocean coast. During the past years, it is extremely stormy in the summer. There are high waves. One could not see this before. The ocean is boiling. Powerful waves weigh the melting permafrost ashore. The shore is falling from time to time. The ocean is under incursion every year from 30 to 100 meters of land disappear into the depths of the sea. There were buildings 200 meters far from the ocean before, remaining from the scientific expedition of the USSR. Everything was gone under the water. To the part of my presentation, it will be dedicated to index-based assessment of climate change public perception. In this study, I would like to develop a system of sociological indexes which compare the public perception of environmental change with the meteorological data. In this study, we made survey in same settlements: Yakut, Nyeringri, Aldan, Usmaya, Saskalach. The first questionnaire was following: did winter become warmer? And here in the slide, we see the map of air temperature changes in period from 1978 to 213. And we may see that in some places like Saskalak, Yakutsk, Usmaya, winters indeed became quite warmer. While in the other places, Altan and Chulman, it is actually meteor station. Chulman is very close to Nyeringri. And we see that only in one place, in Aldan, people believe that, yes, winters become warmer. While indeed in Aldan, did not become warmer. Actually, winters become a little bit colder. Similar questions. Did summer become colder? And again, we have two places, Aldan and Nyeringri, where the answers of the question do not correspond to real observation. Observations show that summers become warmer everywhere. But in some places, people say no. Maybe people perception associated with other things like number of rains. Often people think warm summer also is a dry summer, and if it becomes more rainy, perhaps people would say it's a bad summer, and bad summer is a cold summer. Next question. Did summer become more rainy? In this case, yes, most places make it correctly. Yes, summers become rainy, except for Yakutsk, which did not become more rainy. People say no. But in Saskala, people say yes, summers become more rainy nowadays. While indeed it is become even drier. What happened? My talk to elders of the village showed that perception pattern has been changing. Last year, local people observed short but heavy rain, even thunderstorms, and it is never happened before. Strong rains gave the perception of rainy summers. Did snowfall increase? And again, people of Saskala gave wrong answer that does not correspond with meteorological records. Basing on the result of survey, we construct kind of index, sociological index that could be used to characterize the relation between environment and people. One of such indexes is environmental state index, which characterizes current state of environment. It is calculated at average rank of all these environmental estimates. In this table, you see we use 4 grades like good, favorable, normal, bad, very bad. Each rank colored accordingly. And here we have responses of people bills shown in this histogram. People in Yakutsk, Saskala, and Ustmaya think that the environment is pretty much normal. But in 2 cities, Aldan and Nuremberg, they think the environment bad. It can be explained that environment of Nuremberg and Aldan is polluted by coal gold mine industry. And in this city's socioeconomic situation is not good. People don't satisfy their living in these cities. And other index could be used to characterize not the state of environment, but the change of environment. We can it environmental degradation index, which characterizes the degradation of quality of environment. And here all criteria we have air, water, forest, permafrost, soil, radionuclides. On this table, we see that different people of different places took differently in this regard. In Yakutsk, for example, most of people think air, water, and forest change to the less than half of respondents noticed of permafrost and soil. Altogether, relative environmental degradation index is 56. Climate change perception index accumulates all the answers and the data shown before. It calculates number of answers in accord with meteorological data. It is fractional of total number of all answers. We use such criteria as winter and summer temperature changes in snowfall, and rain and abrupt temperature changes. The table gives the cumulative index, climate change perception index, the highest actually in Ust-Maya. Their people have clear vision that happen with the nature. The person they perceive of these changes more correctly. In Yakutsk and near same situation, people's consciousness reflect real nature change. Saskala has slight differences in compare previous settlements. Well done. What people think about changing in climate does not correspond to meteorological observation. Conclusion of are very simple. Public opinion already reflects the climatic and environmental changes in the Arctic local environment. Perception of climate change is site-specific and does not always agree with the meteorological observation. Public perception is dominated by the skeptics, certainly, because people often like to complain, particularly with regard environmental changes. There's not much differences. It is interesting between urban and rural population in the perception of environmental and climatic changes in occasion with sustainability, which implies that we can actually conduct survey not only the urban areas but also rural areas and mix this data together. Thank you very much. Let me end of that. If you have some question,